Welcome to the Level Up Podcast, where finance leaders share real stories, insights, and connections that move them forward. Tune in to learn, sharpen your edge, and level up together.
Nick Aracco here, host of the newly reimagined Level Up and founder and CEO of CFO Alliance. Okay, this is not just another boring business podcast. Level Up is where the most forward-thinking leaders in finance and business from not just the CFO Alliance community, but beyond, come together with me and you, the listeners, to share what it really takes to lead in today's complex, unpredictable world that we're all navigating and living in. Each episode, I have the pleasure and opportunity to sit down with people that are driving business and industry, redefining what leadership looks like by stepping up, leaning in, and leveling up. These aren't theory-driven interviews. They're raw, they're real, and they're packed with insights and stories that you can learn from and use. Past guests have included power players like Sam Levy from Oracle NetSuite, Sumit Agarwal from Smart Scale Finance, and visionaries like Alana Esterich and Aaron Wilkins. If you're a finance leader, business leader, navigating change, challenge, or opportunity, trust me, this is your podcast. Today, I have a finance and operations executive, Rho, here with me. We're going to dive into Rho's own journey, his insights, and his leadership vision in just a moment. And I get to share with you that Level Up is proudly brought to you by Oracle NetSuite, the #1 cloud ERP trusted by thousands of high-growth finance-led companies around the world. NetSuite gives CFOs and finance leaders real-time visibility, automation, and control across their financials, operations, and planning, so they can lead with confidence and scale with speed. Oracle NetSuite is also a proud and longtime global partner to the CFO Alliance, supporting our shared mission of empowering finance leaders to drive strategy, build resilient teams, and deliver next level impact. So if you're serious about building a modern finance function that keeps pace with your business, NetSuite is your platform. You can learn more at netsuite.com or contact me at CFO Alliance. So let's dive in. I get the pleasure and opportunity to also introduce and sit down with finance and ops exec Rho. Rho has built an impressive career spanning leadership roles in both startups and more established companies. With a deep foundation in finance, strategy, and operations, he's led teams through rapid growth, raising capital, streamlining global operations, shaping company culture from inside out, grounded by his commitment to authenticity. From the second I met him, he exudes that. And high performance, Rho brings his full self, bit of humor, curiosity, and heart to every boardroom, every team meeting, every big decision. Today, we're going to dig into what it truly means to evolve as a leader, how to scale yourself when the company's scaling, how to stay grounded when the winds keep coming, and how to bring your entire staff, your values, your vulnerabilities, your ambitions to the table. Once again, real talk, real insights, and serious wisdom. This one's all heart and hustle. So, Ro, welcome. We have so much to talk about and hear from you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nick. That was such an interesting introduction. I'm not sure if I can even follow that introduction. It sounded like a person I don't even know. But it's funny you should say this about vulnerability because the word vulnerability and leaders don't necessarily go hand in hand. And I think in a lot of cases, people feel like it's a bad thing. But one of the things, and I'll start there because it's a natural start in life for me,
Yeah.
is the fact that to be a great leader, I guess some smart person once said you need to know how to be a good follower. I fundamentally don't agree with that. I think when you're a great leader, some you need to learn to be a great leader. You're not necessarily born a great leader. And part of learning to be a great leader is being willing to be the vulnerable about not being the smartest person in the room, being vulnerable about understanding that you're going to have people working for you who actually is far smarter than you. And I would encourage all leaders, quite frankly, to truly surround themselves with people who are way smarter than them. The goal for me, and this is sort of my mantra, is fire myself. And the reason why I say I need to fire myself is the fact that I want to spend my time driving strategy and executing at the highest level. If I'm bogged down in the day to day for that reason, I'm never going to be able to do that. But if you're able to bring smarter people than you, people who are on the cutting edge of knowledge, people who are on the cutting edge of what's going on out there, not just at your level, but with their peers, the people they talk to, their family, they bring something to the conversation which you don't know. And you need to trust yourself and be confident in yourself to know that, boy, I'm not really the smartest guy in the room today, but what they're doing makes me learn. So it brings me to my second point as a leader and over my time. Every engagement, every job I've ever had, I believe I'm at my best when I'm able to learn as much as I'm able to teach. To me, those are the two things that actually work. And I would encourage leaders to be comfortable learning from the younger generation, the older generation, because as much as you are teaching them, you have an opportunity to also learn what matters to them from the lens of a consumer, what matters to them from the lens of a professional, what matters to them from the lens of just a person, and what matters to them from the lens of a professional finance business partner or direct report. These are all things that make sense in life. And I think the idea that I'm going to advance in a while is it came from a conversation that I had with a person that I worked with when I used to work at Ralph Lauren. And when I was there, one of the conversations that we used to talk about was really what happened to the accounting function. That was the whole genesis of this conversation. Over time, accounting became, I wouldn't say it's not value added, it's very value added, but it became transactional. And people recognize that as a leader, you can't spend your time focused on the transactional nature of finance. As much as it is important and you do need to be know your debits and credits and your T accounting, what truly drives the business is not that, because accounting is essentially a reporting of what happened. And as a
The past,
yes,
prior.
it happened already. You can't change it. You can learn from it, but you can't change it. And as a finance leader, you need to be in the room providing what I like to call foresight, which means you
Yeah.
need to be able to look around the corner to see what's coming and be able to sit with a CEO and say, this is what is coming. Here's what we need to do today to actually impact what's going to come tomorrow. And by the way, we learned this from what happened yesterday. So as a finance leader, you need to learn to live 3 days at a time. It sounds a little bit cliche, but you need to learn to live yesterday because you got to learn from yesterday. You need to be very much living today because you need to be present about what is going on, but you also need to be seeing what's coming tomorrow. And that to me represents the 3 day strategy in terms of what you're doing.
I like it. I like
Coming
it.
out of that conversation is the reality that history often repeats itself. And when history repeats itself, we may think we're coming up with something brand new, but it's really just us evolving something that happened maybe another generation, maybe it happened another time, another era, but
It repeats itself.
it repeats itself. We are trying to not be thinking that we are somehow reinventing the wheel. And I think in that spirit,
When's that special, Ro?
we're not. We're not. And I think it's probably one of the most humbling things, but it's
Yeah.
also the thing that allows you to be a good leader. You
Yeah.
can invent something new, but for the most part, we're essentially making it better, taking something that already exists and just making it better. What truly new thing are we really inventing? Truly,
Yeah.
what can you
Yeah.
say? And the other thing to recognize about life is that finance is not life and death. Finance is really just being able to help a company navigate challenges, help the people be prepared to navigate those challenges, and we all work towards an outcome that really makes sense for shareholders, it makes sense for the leaders, it makes sense for our team members and the culture. That's for the
Ro, you seem very comfortable with it, which means you also must be comfortable when we get it wrong. Tell me about a time when you got it wrong? That could be in hiring, it could be in forecasting, it could be in investor conversations, it could be in board dynamics. What did you learn that others can steal when you got it wrong?
So the thing about getting it wrong is that, and I position it this way: you need to make sure that you get it right a whole lot more than you get it wrong. That's the first thing that I will say. That's if you're getting it wrong too often, then with all due respect, you're just not the right guy for the role, right?
Right,
But
right.
fundamentally, the thing that we need to understand about getting it wrong is you should never get defensive about getting it wrong. The
Okay.
most important thing is own it, understand why you got it wrong, and try to move past it with a recommendation of what it is you're going to do to get it right the next time. And
Okay.
and for me, I'll use my hiring as an example. I think for me, one of the things I enjoy doing is really hiring smarter people than me. I mentioned it because I'm looking to fire myself. So if I'm looking to fire myself, I should always get people who are willing to take my job, who are going to not only push me, because them pushing me helps me to be sharper as a professional, but more importantly, it also allows me to really elevate my own game. I hired a person at another job that I was working at, and she was very good when we were in the interview. She hit the right note. She was very professional. She came with the right ideas. I was impressed.
Yeah.
I was very surprised that very soon after she started to work, the person I saw in the interview just wasn't the person that was coming into work. That energy, that fire, it disappeared.
Something changed or something was not there, right?
Something was not there. And I remember going to her and asking her the question, I said, Melissa, what happened
Yeah,
between the
between here
interview
and
we
there.
had, the all of that energy, all of that vibe that you have, and then now you're in the role, this is what you said you want, why are you struggling as much as you're struggling? And her response to me was very insightful as much as it was a little bit disappointing. She looked at me and she said to me that the role that she envisioned, it is the role that she has, but her point in her life right now is not ready for that role. She's not ready for this role at this point in time. She felt like, and it was a little bit disconcerting, she felt like she was masquerading in the role.
She felt like an imposter.
Yes, that's what she said. And it was shocking to me as much as it was insightful, because I said to myself, why didn't I personally got on myself and said, I missed that.
Yeah, how did you felt like, how did I miss that?
Precisely. That's kind of how I felt about it. How did I
Yeah.
miss that? Because her response is what, as much as it was a profound truth, it happens all the time. A lot of people masquerade, or when they apply for roles, they're imposters and they know how to polish themselves and
Yeah, they're auditioning. So
yeah,
it's the first date syndrome. They're on their best behavior.
correct.
Yeah, right.
So that's what she was. But for me, I step back from that conversation and understand that the truth is, in an audition, people are going to put forth their best behavior. It's no different from me. When I go for an interview for myself, I'm not showing you the worst of me. I mean, I'm comfortable in my skin. So
Sure.
I'm going to show you who I am. And if you like it, it's good, because it's a two-way street. I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me. So that's what it really comes down to. But in her case, the learning for me was simple, which is to say, is there something I could have done differently? And the truth is, if I had to do it all over again, I would have still made the same decision, which
Yeah.
tells me that I am not going to take on her imposter syndrome. That's her problem. It just means the next time, from my perspective, I need to see if I can dig a little bit deeper to understand who is really posing and who is really the real deal. And
Yeah.
what I dug in with her is not that she couldn't do the job. She felt bad because I said to her, ultimately, you need to be a 10x person. And right now, you're at about 4x.
Yeah.
And she asked me, what does 10x mean? And I said to her, 10x means if I am not around tomorrow, the CEO feels confident that there's a number two who is immediately able to step in and run the show.
Capable. Yes.
That's really what 10x means. You need to
Yeah.
be able to do that. You need to be able to display not just the gravitas, but
The ability.
process, the analytic acumen, the commercial acumen, the worldview which is necessary for you to be able to do that. And she said, "Are you leaving?" I'm like, "I am not leaving. I'm just saying that it is important for you to have that context." And she said she's not ready. And I will say to you, I started a conversation about vulnerability in as a leader, and I say this to you at this point. I sat down with her and I said to her, in life, the people who truly rise to the top of the food chain are the people who learn to dance in the storm. And what that means is you don't need to be ready when you're facing challenges. You don't grow when you're comfortable. You grow when you're very uncomfortable. You grow when the world is happening around you and you're forced to make decisions, sometimes not with all the answers, sometimes we're not with all the facts. It's up to you to make sure that you make the best decision you can with both your own thought process in terms of intuition and balance it with data and facts that you have. And if you're not sure about something, the easiest thing to do, phone a friend, ask a question. Just that's all you have to do. No one knows everything. No.
Yeah.
So
So let me ask you a question. This is perfect segue to a big question that for now especially. Given the environment that you and your peers are operating in right now, volatility, uncertainty, a lot thrown at them, tech, talent, crisis in many cases. Where do you see finance leaders being stretched the most right now? And how are you navigating it? And how do you best suggest finance leaders navigate it?
that's a great question. I think right now the challenge for finance leaders today, it spans the realm of tariff if you're in the consumer goods such as myself. It
Yes.
spans the realms of a lot of layoffs in that's happening around you, because if people aren't working, you don't want your consumers are being impacted. It spans the realm of AI because you're being forced to really embrace what's happening around you, because again, you adapt or you die. It sounds very cliche, but
Right.
that's the reality of it. And you're also facing something which is a little bit less definitive, but is equally as important. The workforce of today, and I say the workforce because it's kind of two dichotomies. As an older member of the workforce, we have a different mindset than the generations that comes behind us, right? There's it's the it's been personified over the last couple of years in RTO policies or work from home. So that's kind of the context of what I'm saying in terms of all of these things that are happening around you. As a finance leader, not even just as a finance leader, as a business leader, I think the most important thing you can do right now is stand on authenticity. And when I say stand on authenticity, it is who are you and who do you want your peers, your bosses, your direct reports to see you as. For me personally, I am the person who is not concerned about all the moving pieces, because all those moving pieces today are going to be different moving pieces tomorrow.
Right.
It's always going to be moving pieces.
It's not static.
It's not static. And if you're a leader who is expecting things to be normal and routine, that's okay. That's fine. But I am not that leader. I'm the leader who know how to manage through storms. And managing through storms for me, it's always been about stepping back from all the real noise, because
The noise, hype.
it's all of that stuff, stepping back
Yeah.
from it and asking yourself the question, how do I pay my bills? And how do I pay my bills is the first question you're asking as a finance leader. You will then have a conversation with your CEO to say, the company makes money from these two things. What are we doing to make sure that these are the two things that we are doing? That's the first thing you got to say from that perspective. Because that's the piece you don't control, and that's the piece you need to make sure you focus on. Paying your bills no matter what. The second thing is, as a shareholder, what is it they want to see from you as a company? How are
Yes.
you creating value for that shareholder? And don't look outside first. The first shareholder that you need to be creating value for is the people inside your company, because if they're not invested in what you're doing, then the external shareholder is not going to get the results what they're looking for. So it is creating that second stemming. The third dynamic that you need to say is, how do we step away from gut versus facts? Because in this situation, it's easy for you to get, oh, the world is coming to an
Caught up in it.
It's good. No, fall back, step back, look at the facts in front of you, and lay out for yourself. Here's what the data is telling me. And this is, I want to say something next, which is a little bit counterintuitive, but it's also very important. Data is only going to get you part of the way. The other part of it is actually going to require gut instincts.
Yeah.
It's going to be you having a feel for certain things in the marketplace. Some of that comes from experience. Some of it comes from the zeitgeist. You get an inspiration, but it is really what it basically defines for me is that it represents just another decision point, not the only decision point. So for me, I combine all of that to make sure that I am presenting options for my CEO, options for my design person, options from my ops leaders, options from my HR person, options from my legal counsel. I am creating a scenario for options, and I'm going to say to them, based on these scenarios, here is the options that are available. Here's the one or two that I recommend. And by the way, if we do these two options, here's what is the desired and expected outcome. And based on that desired and expected outcome, I could be full of shit. Here's the KPI that you should be tracking to make sure that it actually is resulting in the outcome that I'm telling you is going to happen.
I've now enabled you to make the decision that ultimately you're responsible for, but I've done my job.
Correct. That's kind of what it is in the thing. And this is where it sounds, it's, there's no secret sauce. There's no magic need. There's nothing. I think leaders today have to understand first and foremost that they don't have a moratorium on all the answers in the world. If you don't know, you just say you don't know. If you don't know, and it comes back to phone a friend, because there is somebody else who is having similar issues to you. And I'm a big fan of that, right? I'll tell people that you need to have a circle around you of people who can tell you that you're full of shit and can tell you that what you're thinking doesn't make sense, or it's good to bounce an idea off. It's good to have that level of thought leadership. I'm not saying everybody needs it all the time, but it is good to have that when you need it more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was the genesis for us creating CFO Alliance, was 7 of us who said there's no greater source of competence, confidence, and capability building than to lean into that type of authentic type of peer-to-peer challenge and validation that comes from that. And when I need it, wherever I need it, and not have it be group speak either. It has to be real.
I think this is really great because I think, and this comes back to the whole point of learning and teaching, right? Because you don't want to create an environment where all you're doing is taking. You need to be putting something back into the pot as well. So I think that is really what is really beautiful about having that sort of mindset, which it has worked for me all my life. And I'm not saying it is the path everybody needs to walk, but I like to be the calm in the storm. I see the building burning down. Everybody's going to run away from the building. I am running towards that building because I want to know what I am going to build in that space. What can come out of those ashes? That's the operational guy in me, but it's also the finance guy in me, because I'm always trying to see, how can I quantify an opportunity that most people don't see? How can I
Ro, let me ask you, Ro, with that in mind and the vision that you've had, Where do you see this going? What's one capability you think every finance leader is going to need 5 years from now that most don't have today?
Let me think about it. That most don't have today. I would say,
Or maybe they need to strengthen. They may have it, but they need to make stronger.
okay, the statement I'm going to make is actually what I believe is important. Finance leaders need to understand that they have to do more than being the bean counter or the numbers guy. It's I think it's a lot of people are getting there, which also represents why I have a merged role of finance and ops. A lot of people
Yes.
get in there, but I feel like it's going to evolve even more because companies are recognizing a very simple reality. A finance person have the unique perspective of being able to see the different functional areas in a company, and they're recognizing that functions is a thing of the past. I mean, it's probably not a popular statement, but you need to align yourself around a common purpose. And I'm going to steal it from the meeting that we have because when I heard it, I laugh out loud because truthfully, that's where companies are going and they will evolve to that place. And I believe finance leaders can be at the tip of the spear of that evolution because you can be the person who can articulate that purpose and be the one that holds everyone accountable for it. Because in many ways, a design person is going to design things because that's their natural inclination. There's nothing wrong with that. A salesman is going to sell you until the cows come home. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. A marketeer is going to tell you that if you spend millions of dollars, you're going to get this return because that's what they're predisposed to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. The guy in production and sourcing is going to tell you that he's going to get your products for you at the best possible price because that's what they're predisposed to do. Finance is at the end of all of those process. They see the results of all those decisions. And I believe because we're at the end of that process, you have the unique opportunity to shape those decisions to get you to the outcomes that you need to get to. And that's why, for me, I believe finance people need to start being and thinking along the lines that they need to be the one that is over the purpose in the company. They're the ones that needs to be driving it day in, day out, because it allows them to partner with the CEO in what I call the good cop, bad cop mentality, right?
Yeah.
If the
The chief
CEO
that
is the good cop, you need to
yeah.
be the bad cop. If you are the bad cop, then the CEO needs to be the good cop. That
Yeah.
partnership is just unassailable, but it has to be done from that perspective. So, short answer is we need to understand that companies will move to a purpose driven approach in how they go to the market and how they build and grow and scale. And
You
we
know, Ron, I'm a very visual type of thinker and doer, and I have this vision in mind because I'm thinking out 5 years. And I don't know if you see this with me, but we're moving to these kind of ability to have a VR dashboard in front of us. So imagine a CFO standing with a VR performance dashboard and the ability to move data and information in front of them. And imagine that company performance dashboard being there, and you've got all marketing data, sales data, operations data. And I picture the CFO being able to see all of that because of the way they think. It also goes back to the basics of they understand how the business works
yes, I
and and need to develop the skill to be able to communicate that effectively. They can put the two together. They're really the chief performance officer or the chief because they also understand how to identify and mitigate opportunity and risk in the equation too. That
so
tightrope.
so I'm very glad you bring that point because right now, and I know it sounds very bad, but right now I'm actually conducting a social experiment. I recently joined a new company as the CFO, and I'm conducting a social experiment at the new company. And what I'm physically doing is imagining a scenario which I'd mentioned to you before, where FP&A and analytics is going the way of what happened to transaction accounting, so to speak. And
Okay.
fundamentally, what you just described, I'll bring it together in the way you describe it, because last night I saw something that Google and Samsung has released as a new sort of dongle, a new hardware, which I feel like captures a lot of what you just said, because it
Yeah.
really speaks to what I was thinking about. For me, the key to being able to look ahead has always been pulling disparate information from
Yes.
different areas. And to me, I would love to be able to, and I know it doesn't exist currently, but this is my challenge to anyone who's actually listening, to be able to pull in retail analytics, macro and micro information, consumer data, which we all have access to, internal data, which is always there, competitive intelligence, so you know what is happening from the competition space, and actually merge that with your internal order management, merchandise planning, financial planning, and create one business intelligence unit, which allows true finance leaders to step out of the numbers and actually move the blocks the way, because you were able to see all that data
No.
type into a central place, and you're able to pull the information out to create what future are you trying to get to, and what levers you need to pull to actually get to that future.
I'm smiling because the critical thinking and the intellectual curiosity that we as finance leaders have unleashed would be just exponentially powerful in terms of our ability to help influence better, more effective decision making. I mean, with that.
I think that's the most powerful thing. Imagine what you
Yeah.
just said. You standing in an office with the leadership team of a company, and you're
Yeah.
moving the blocks for everybody to see real-time decision making. Now tell
Yeah.
me, which CEO would not love to see that?
I
Which
know.
finance leader would not feel good about that?
Yeah.
That represents for me what my personal nirvana would be. And as I
Yeah.
said, I know it doesn't exist currently, or not
Yeah.
least that I'm aware of, but I would challenge people to bring that to the fore, because for me, that would then allow and supercharge the first point that I mentioned, which is to say, finance can be so much more in an
Then it is.
organization. And I think
Yeah.
they need to be the ones that are driving that narrative. Imagine if you overlay AI into that conversation that I just
Exactly.
mentioned. Imagine that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's amazing. The art
That's amazing.
challenge thrown out there to listener, challenge issued.
I would love to see who would accept that challenge, because I think it would be an absolute game changer. And I feel like
Yeah.
we have the disparate pieces
We
of
do.
this. We just need to find a way to bring it
Yeah.
all together.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Ro, what's something that most people may not know about you? You know, a quirk or a habit or a ritual that matters to you, that's kind of been something that you've adopted or something you've done that's been influenced the way that you lead, or that keeps you in sync with your continued progression and motivation.
I see. I'm probably dating myself when I kind of aging myself when I say this here, but I'm old school in the sense that I always believe in the simple concepts of dignity and respect.
Yeah.
And for me, I always believe that it doesn't matter who it is, I always try to treat everyone with dignity and respect. And one of the things I do is the people who walk around the buildings and they clean the offices, or those are people I say good morning and thank you to. It's a simple thing, but it's an important thing for me, because it that person could be my boss tomorrow, and people
That's
might not
right.
realize that, but the reality is we live in a world, and this is the beautiful thing about a country like the United States.
Yeah.
You could go to bed tonight and be a pauper, and tomorrow morning you can wake up and be a millionaire. And I use that as an analogy because it tells me that you have to stay humble in life and always be respectful to the people around you, whoever they may be, because
Yeah.
you don't know if tomorrow that person might either be your boss, which is very possible, or you could actually need to go to that person for some kind of assistance, or somebody who that person's know and you don't know that they know that person. So I'm a big fan of dignity and respect and treating everybody with the same level of dignity and respect that you expect. Titles mean nothing to me. I really
Yeah.
don't care. A title is going to come and go. I am an
Yeah.
authentic man, and this is who I
Yes.
am. That's what
Yeah.
you need to see, not by my words. So hear what I say, but listen to what I do, because that's the true measure of who I am.
I love it. You've got a lot more to do, Rose. So what's the best way for people to learn more about you or connect with you? What would you prefer if a listener wanted to learn more about you or connect with you?
I think in a lot of cases, I mean, everyone jumps to LinkedIn where they look for
Yeah.
your profile, but that's not what it is for me. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of meeting with people and talking to people face to face. I know we live in a world where the screen is good and everybody is caught up in social media, and there's a value for that. But
Yeah.
I believe in sitting down with a sniffer of really good whiskey and just have
Yeah.
a great conversation about
Yeah.
anything. And to me, it can be about anything, because I like to inform myself about things that doesn't necessarily relate to
Yeah.
finance, but it just warms and broadens my perspective. So I like to sit and have conversations with people at schools and colleges. I like to go and give presentations to talk about things. I like to sit in panels and have conversations where people can ask me questions and I can ask them questions in very interactive
Yeah.
sessions of that nature. Hell, they could come to the CFO Alliance and have a sit down and have a chat with me, right? It's
Yeah. That's how we met. We met face to face
exactly
before we met here on screen. Yep.
precisely, and that's a
Yeah.
big thing for me. I'm not an online meter. I'm a
Yeah.
very in the see each other meter. So if a person
Yeah.
wants to get a hold of me, I'm always available if they're open to that.
Awesome. I suggest and recommend a face to face because the energy that you'll feel, even coming in and initial contact, will draw you in. That's what drew me to you, Ro. So, um, I we will make that connection for you, Ro. And the next chapter for you, you just stepped into a role. Question for you: What when you feel that spark, even using this most current role? What is it that drives you towards what's next, that next thing for you? I mean, is there a common tie, for that connection point for you? Because you do exude this sense of inspiration and sense of confidence, but at the same time, great level of heart and authenticity. What is it that is that like that you makes you say yes to someone or some opportunity? I'm just curious as we wrap this up.
I said it before in our conversations. For me, I don't apply for a job.
Yeah,
I apply for a purpose. And I know it sounds very stupid and it's very cliche, but that for me is what it is.
yeah,
I need to understand what is the essence of what this company is about, and not only what they are about, where are they going,
yeah.
and how can I help that? But on the other side of it, what am I going to be able to get out of it as well? It's a two-way conversation. I mentioned earlier that my decision point is always I'm learning and I'm teaching. And
Yeah.
anywhere those two intersect, it represents a decision point for me every
Excellent.
single time. If it's a situation where all I'm going to do is learn, that's not fun for me. It really
Yeah.
isn't. If it's a decision point where all I'm going to do is teach, also not fun for me because it's boring. If
If
I'm learning and teaching, that is always going to be, and I'll say this to you, and it's everyone is different. I like the bad situations. I like the transformation. I like the scaling. I like where people have given up.
you don't do maintenance mode, Ro.
I don't. I don't. It doesn't work for me. It
Yeah.
feels me. Candidly speaking, it makes me feel like I'm getting dumber in life. I need to
Right.
be
Why bother?
positive.
Right. I love it. Well, Ro, promise me we'll sit down and we'll enjoy some more time face to face together.
Absolutely. There's no question.
I'll get it on the calendar. And listeners, I invite you to do the same. Get on his calendar It's worth it. And it will be that two-way. There's only one way with Rho, and it's two-way. He doesn't do
Absolutely.
one way. Rho, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing just a little and opening this up. This is evolutionary and can be revolutionary too. I appreciate it.
I thank you, Nick, and I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So this is why we do Level Up series, to hear what's really happening in these leadership seats, how Rho and peers are making their next plays. So don't just read about it, learn from people who are really living it like Rho. If you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. If you have recommendations for leaders like Rho or willing to share so freely their stories, contact me. And if you're interested in being a guest and sharing your insights as well. In the meantime, please stay well, stay connected, stay safe, and most importantly, take these words of wisdom, apply them, listen, and level up. Thank you, and join us for our next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the Level Up Podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. More stories, insights, and connections to help you level up.